Andy Palmer, who's former CEO of Aston Martin and Chief Operating Officer of Nissan. Andy, good to talk to you this afternoon.
Sure.
Do you welcome this, and are we ready for this?
Yes, I do. I think it's a bold and ambitious plan, and I think we should applaud the fact that it goes further than either the Japanese or the incoming US administration. So I think we should applaud it. However, we have to also acknowledge that with some caveats. And the most obvious caveat to me is that if we act as the UK alone, then there will be unintended consequences which will disadvantage British companies in a global market. So I think what we have to do is we have to demonstrate leadership and convince the rest of the world that what we're doing, everybody should follow. And I think the up and coming COP26 is the opportunity for the UK to both demonstrate what it's doing, but also try to persuade other countries to follow. Going alone is dangerous.
You, I think, oversaw the introduction of the Nissan Leaf. I mean, you know more about electric cars than anybody I will speak to for many years, I suspect. And I'm just wondering, where are we in the technology? And a lot of talk, particularly about the batteries for these cars.
I mean, look, the technology has moved on in the 15 years that I've been working on electric cars, and battery technology in particular is moving very quickly. Regrettably, as we sit here today, the UK is behind. There's been massive investments in Asia, particularly China, Korea, and Japan. And we now start to see investment going into Europe. In fact, a company that I'm vice chairman of, InoBat, is basically benefiting from some of that investment. But we in the UK are slow in terms of battery development, which is a little ironic when you think about that the lithium-ion battery was invented here in the UK.
Well, that company you're involved in, I think, is looking at intelligent batteries. Just explain how they work.
Well, we use artificial intelligence to look through the various chemistry types and resolve the chemistry which is suitable for the mission. So, for example, if you have a bus where the battery is discharged deeply during the day and then recharged during the night, that's a different mission to, for example, a car where it might be only slightly discharged and recharged, discharged and recharged. So you need different chemicals, and the AI technology that InoBat owns allows for very fast experimentation around those chemistries.
Now that brings us on to the charging of this, and how are we in terms of the infrastructure?
Well, we've got to improve, and I'm glad to see that there's an acknowledgement of that in the Prime Minister's announcement today. But we have to have a much wider charging infrastructure. I know that when I left Japan, I lived in Japan for 13 years, but when I left Japan, there was a fast charger at least every 10 kilometers, and we need to get that. And importantly, if you look at the statistics, you can see that the north of England is getting left behind from the south of England, and we've got to make sure that there's charging infrastructure throughout Great Britain, actually.
And it's all very well to say that they're going to stop selling petrol and diesel from 2030. And apart from the charging aspect of this, what about the cost of electric cars? Will that come down?
It has to. Look, when you're building cars in such low quantities, then inevitably they're expensive. And when you're using new technology, they're inevitably expensive. The holy grail of the battery maker is to get the cost per kilowatt hour down to around about $100. And over that 15 years that I've been working in this space, you know, it's been progressively coming down, and that's now within sight. So I think we can get to affordable cars. But let's not forget, we can get to affordable buses much more quickly. And actually, the UK is a leader in electric buses today. And if you want to democratize zero emissions and net zero carbon, then the fastest way to do that is actually to replace the fleet of diesel buses with electric buses tomorrow.
Let me just go off beam a bit, because I know you're a licensed race car driver yourself. I mean, does this sign the death knell of Formula One?
I hope not, because, you know, one of the things that I'm saying very strongly to government is don't be myopic on the technology. Politicians should identify the problem, and engineers should identify the solution. So electric cars, battery electric cars, works really well for your average bus or your average passenger car. But when you get to heavier vehicles, battery electric doesn't work so well. And you might need to look at solutions like fuel cell or synthetic fuels. If you look towards sports cars and perhaps Formula One, synthetic fuels would be a great solution. So what I'd really like to see is Formula One doing what it used to do really well, which is push forward the science in different areas. So for me, you know, a V2 engine with a hybrid and a synthetic fuel, which would be net zero carbon emissions, would be a great showcase for Formula One. Let's hope we can get there.
Andy, I could talk to you all day, but sadly we're out of time. Dr. Andy Palmer, it's a great pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.